אז אני מזמינה את אדם זאוול מקבוצת פלדיום העולמית, ואתה תציג את עצמך.
Thank you. Okay, so my excuse is I'm עולה חדש, 1 year here, so give me a few years and I hope to come back and do this all in Hebrew. But I have a few young children and my wife is Israeli, so I know some of the vocabulary around chitul and all the baby stuff. And then I've learned some things about bitzua estrategia. So I have to go from diapers to strategy, but in between I don't really know what I'm talking about, so it's a problem. But I work for this company called Palladium Group. I was in Boston before I came here, and I've been working for this company for 4 years. And when my wife convinced me to come to Israel after 10-year discussion, I told the company, and most of the work I do for them is actually online. I'm not a typical employee of this company. Most employees of Palladium are consultants. So I said, look, I can do this online from Ra'anana, so please let me keep my job. And then on my way out, I said, Derech Agav, Israel, have you heard of this country, Israel? It's an interesting country. Maybe they're interested in this stuff. So that's why I'm doing a little bit of talking to Bank Ha'Poalim, getting some clients here for my company. But it's actually not what I did back in Boston, but that's another story. So let me do a little survey. Thank you for staying, by the way. A little survey. Before Yuval's presentation, and thank you for mentioning this. Before that, how many have heard of the balanced scorecard? Okay, so a little more than half. And I guess of those who have heard about it, what do you think about it? Do you think it's about measurement, a way to measure? Yes? Well, yeah, focus. Well, it is a way to measure. I'm not trying to catch you. No, you're wrong. No, it is. It is. What about for managing strategy, in describing strategy? It's a tool for it. Yeah. Okay. This is what I've discovered. The big aha coming to Israel is, first of all, a lot of business gets done at coffee shops. That's one thing I've learned. And the other about the balanced scorecard is, I think it's somewhat related, because one of the founders, Kaplan, he's a Jewish guy and he was on the board at Technion. He came a lot to Israel back in the 90s, and I think he had coffee with a lot of people and described the balanced scorecard, and then he never came back because no one invited him. I'm trying to get him to come back. But I think in some ways the market is stuck back on the original idea, which is a very powerful idea of the balanced scorecard, but it's come a long way. So that's one of the opportunities I view for my company and for me and for everyone to understand what's the latest information about this balanced scorecard. So you'll notice, actually, I didn't even...
Norton was in Israel.
Norton was, yeah.
And we had a meeting in Ramallah, which was sponsored by the Paris Peace Center, trying to set a balanced scorecard for the Middle East. We were 10 Israelis and 10 Palestinians.
That's a yofi.
This was...
The result.
Yeah, when was that? Wow, okay, that's great. Well, you know, it brings up another topic, but the Palladium Group is about half of the employees are in Boston, and the other half are now actually in Dubai, or many of them are in Dubai. It's the European and Middle East group, which I actually report to, is run by the Spanish, but because business has died in Spain, they've reinvented themselves on that side. So one of my tasks I've been given also is to use this to develop peace. So maybe I have to remind him. I didn't know that. Thank you. So. You have the notes, okay, yeah. So I'm sure the strategy is there. One of the problems that I talk about is, you know, companies or organizations pay a lot of money for a beautiful strategy, they write a nice book, they put it on the shelf, they say, yeah, we have a strategy, but they never execute it. That's one of the things, that's what I'm going to talk about, strategy execution. Maybe that might have been, unfortunately, one of those examples. Yeah. So, but you'll notice that I didn't put balanced scorecard in the title. This is about a strategy management system here. These are the guys, Kaplan and Norton, we've been talking about. The company Palladium I work for is founded by them. The guy on the top, Norton, he's the more active more actively directing the company. And what we do, Palladium, mostly consultants, everything around executing strategy. So maybe designing a strategy or managing it, but always with an eye towards getting it done. And the same thing with other areas, leadership and change management, risks. I heard, risk tied to quality. We do a lot of work on risk tied to strategy. So what are the risks of your strategy not working? So here is a 2x2. I've seen lots of fancy diagrams, so if you understood those, you'll understand this one. This is based on Guy Kawasaki's. You could do a thing, and you could do it in a certain way. And you could do the thing the wrong way. You can pick the right or the wrong thing to do, and then you could do it in the right or the wrong way. So we just changed this a little bit. We're talking about strategy. You may have the right or the wrong strategy, and then you may execute it the right or the wrong way. So let's see what the results are of doing this here. It's logical. By the way, you'll find all of this is very logical. It's just a step-by-step, very important, but it's not, as we say, rocket science. So if you have the wrong strategy and you do it and you execute it badly, you have an unmitigated disaster. If you have the right strategy and you execute it terribly, you have profound disappointment. Then if you have the wrong strategy, but you execute it the right way, it's better than you would expect. So this is where we'll often end up having conversations about this. Organizations will say, oh, we don't have the perfect strategy yet. But you know what? Sometimes it's better to get going with it. If you execute a reasonable strategy well, you'll have better results than expected. Of course, what you're looking for is the right strategy and the right execution. And that's what we work with companies to do. Typical problems we face. Unclear vision or strategy. People will say, we have a strategy, but we just can't explain it. We can't agree. Our leaders can't agree. Or, especially true here, we're trying to do 100 different things rather than 15 very well. So a definition of strategy is actually what are the things you focus on? I think you mentioned focus as what these tools can enable. Well, that's what strategy is. It's the choice of the things that you really are going to focus on, that you're going to spend money on. Other challenge we hear is lack of alignment. We're a collection of different groups. We don't work together. The rewards are not tied. Our rewards, our personal rewards, the manager's rewards are not tied to the strategy. So there's lack of alignment. Our strategy group and our operations and our finance department are not talking. So maybe we have a head of strategy, we have a CFO, and they're not working together. We have a 3-year strategic plan, and we have a yearly financial work plan, and the two are totally separated. So we're not putting our money where our mouth is. And then our meetings are ineffective. We don't even talk about strategy. We maybe have a plan to talk about strategy, but the meetings, we get sucked into operational details. The quote here, 85% of executive teams spend less than an hour per month discussing strategy. They've almost given up on it. So the solution, I'll show this slide at the end as well, but I'll get to the tachlis here. This is the latest and greatest from the work that Kaplan and Norton have done and Palladium with our clients about the process that uses the tool, a balanced scorecard, but it's just one part of this management system. So step one is you develop a strategy, and where we typically come in is at this stage where you want to translate. You want to make sense of that so that you can actually do something with it. We call it translate the strategy. And you do that with a strategy map, which I'll describe. And then you want to get the organization to perform and start executing it, so you align the organizations, you get different departments doing what they're supposed to be doing in line with what the top wants. By the way, I know this whole day has been about quality, and many people, probably everyone, knows more about quality management here than me. But one way that I've heard it described is quality management and total quality management is very much a bottoms-up overall framework. This is unabashedly top-down. It's very non-socialist. It's the top, what's decided at the top levels and how it all comes down. So this is, the idea here is it starts with the strategy decided from the top. Alignment is bringing it down. Now there are many best practices about bringing that down in a way where people feel engaged and are ready to do it and not alienated. And by the way, there are lots of failures of this system because that process doesn't go well. But that stage 3, the alignment, is the toughest. Our clients say that's the one they have the hardest time with, and bringing that down into the organization and then linking it to operations and executing it. And that's really where, that's where you're spending the money, on initiatives. Okay, you have these dreams, but are you really spending the money, and do you have special initiatives to make that happen? And then the green is using all your business intelligence and your data gathering to actually gather data and information that is going to help you figure out, did you have a good strategy, and actually update the strategy in stage 6. So this total process could take a few years. You can come in at any point, and there are quick wins, but the organizations that are really getting value have put this in over time and are coming around their second, third loop of the strategy cycle. And here's some, about half of large organizations use the balanced scorecard to some degree. These are organizations who have used it well and have won an award that Kaplan and Norton give out, the Strategy Execution Hall of Fame Award. You see that in all industries. And Bank of Paulim here is, we gave them an award for being a certified enterprise. So this is individual certification like Six Sigma, but for the balanced scorecard. And then the organization as a whole was certified. That's the CEO of Bank of Paulim and my CEO there as well. And on the right is their head of strategy. He's a board member, which says something right there that's different from many other organizations in Israel, that they have a board member who's responsible for strategy, Arik Pinto. And the system works. Bank of Paulim credits it for having achieved first place in the market recently. Hopefully, well, for their sake it lasts. And then this is an academic study by Crabtree and DeBusk that organizations that use the balanced scorecard are performing better in the marketplace. That's 27% better returns over the 3-year period that they did the study. Kaplan and Norton call this the execution premium. So you execute your strategy well, you get a premium, an extra lift in the marketplace. Okay, so I'll go over, move to the academic part here of this talk and describe basically what the balanced scorecard is and what all these other elements are, and hopefully give you a sense of what this system is. So the components of a performance management school of thought. I was looking again at this and I was thinking, this is like an elevator pitch. If you're with someone who's doing a startup, if you're a venture capitalist and you've got an elevator ride, you say, okay, 10 seconds, what does your company do? Tell me quickly. I'm sure in Israel it's probably a 4-story building. Tell me within 5 seconds you have to tell me what your pitch is. So imagine you're in an elevator with a CEO or a chairman, and you say, okay, what is your vision for the company? How are you gonna get there? How are you gonna move things? These are the 3 things he would need, she would need to answer. One, what is your idea, your model of how value is created? How are you going to produce something of value? How do you even figure that out? Second, what is your philosophy of management? What are your ideas about how you are going to actually manage that process of value creation? And then 3, how are you going to organize your meetings? What are the specific steps you're going to do to manage your management system? So, I'll break those down and talk about them. The balanced scorecard, the original idea was really focused on this economic model of value creation. So the balanced scorecard and strategy maps. And here's it's a very simplified version, but it's really key, and it's not done often. But this balanced scorecard helps you, or the strategy map, and they're similar, describe your strategy. Yes? Oh, time, 5 minutes, that's it? Oh yeah? People have got to eat, and go home. Okay, well, let's see. I'll pick my very best slides. Well, while we're here, this is the basic. This is the part that's balanced. It's not just the financials. It's a recognition that you will get the good financials you want by having customers who love your products. So that's the cause and effect. And you'll get customers who love your products if you do the right things, the right internal things, and you'll be able to do those things internally if you hire good people, if you have the knowledge, the skills, and the systems. So it's this cause and effect way to describe your strategy. Okay, you'll see there are many more details that are layered on top of this, but this is the fundamental important part. It's a cause and effect story that describes your strategy across these 4 layers, and it's balanced between financials and non-financials. And here's what it looks like when we start to get into an organization. You have the same 4 perspectives, you have the same cause and effect between the 4, but you've identified in your organization what are the specific objectives. Each one of these circles is an objective, something we want to do. We want to increase our human capital. We want to increase our information capital. Of course, they'll even get more specific, but you also notice that they're relatively few. One of the hard things is actually focusing just on 15 to 25 key objectives. And the cause and effect could apply in nonprofit. It doesn't have to be that you're aiming for financial goals. It could be world peace is your top line, or educating the kids. So you can reorder these perspectives, but the cause and effect stays the same. Then you take each one of those objectives, each one of those 25, and you measure them. So for each objectives, you say, well, how are we going to measure that we succeeded? What's our target? This is the traditional balanced scorecard. This is where people fall in love and say, oh, numbers, I can yell at people when they don't give us the right numbers. But I purposely did not put this up very early because it's part of this story of strategy management and describing your strategy. So what's your philosophy of management? Well, what are the things, back on the elevator, Mr. CEO, that you need to do to make this happen? Well, you need to mobilize everyone. We have to get everyone excited. We have to translate, describe the strategy. We have to get everyone aligned, we have to motivate them, and we have to govern so that this is a continuous process. And then on top of that, how do we actually make this a management system? How do we actually manage the strategy? And that gets back to that cycle I had before, the system of managing strategy. And actually, we've gotten to the end. One thing that Bank Pauline did very well, not only did they have the CEO who was behind it, they also have a team, an office of strategy management. They've had it for many years. And, I guess that's one of my goals. One thing I think that would be very good for Israel, to have more people who are responsible, not just for developing the strategy. I think in some ways there's a plethora of that. Everyone knows what the strategy should be and has their ideas. But people who are responsible for getting it done and for putting that system in place, gathering the best practices. It's not always super exciting. How to conduct a strategy meeting, how to relate your initiatives to your objectives. These very structured things, and that's what the job of this Office of Strategy Management is. First of all, they're the architects. They would be describing the philosophy that the organization for management, performance management. They would own the process, those 6 stages. They would own the calendar of executing the strategy. And then once you get more advanced, they start integrating with other departments. That you would have a discussion about, okay, what's the relationship between quality and strategy? What's the relationship between the CFO's office and all those things? They become the integrator. Okay, well that's it. Thank you for your time. Thanks for staying to the end.